Hi. So this is your super mini restorative class for sleeping. So if you find yourself having anxiety or agitation over any of the numerous things that are happening in the world right now and having a hard time settling, this quick little restorative routine can be really helpful. So it's nice to have a couple blankets and maybe a yoga block, pillows. Really, you could just get this all done with a bunch of pillows from your bed. You could even kind of do this in your bed. So we'll get started. I'm just kicking over things. So we're going to start with a little bit of a side stretch just to open up the side body, which is helpful for breathing. So I'm using a bolster, but you could use, a nice thick pillow or a couple of pillows stacked on top. You just want to sit right in front with your pelvis right up against the bolster and then lean on over. Yeah, and then straighten out that top leg and swing the top arm over here and give a nice little stretch and then lean slightly back and you can get in towards the line of the adrenals and the kidneys and just create this really soothing opening for that area of the body. Try and take some nice deep breaths here. Slowly switch on out, and then you just press up or roll over and come to the other side. I'm going to take my body over to the other side so I can stay facing y'all. But you can just flip over. Again, hip right up towards the pelvis. Lean on over. That top leg straightens out. Bottom arm is relaxed. Take a hold of the wrist with the bottom arm, the top wrist, bottom arm. And then slightly lean on back. And big breaths in. Feeling those ribs expand. Yeah. So this is about as hard as this class is going to get. This is, I think, the hardest pose. And then we'll release this. So this next pose I call Tarasana. And it's like Baddha Konasana or a butterfly shape, except your feet are wider. So I'm not pulling my feet tight in like this. I'm taking my feet out slightly wider, so I'm creating a bigger triangle. And the feet don't have to touch. For some people, keeping the feet touched causes some strain on the knees, so just letting the feet be apart is totally fine. It also can be nice to sit up on a blanket. I find that just having a little bit of height underneath my seat makes this a little bit more easeful for my pelvis. And the intention here is not to necessarily get yourself super low, although some of you might, but to have really deep flexion in the spine or rounding in the spine. So when I come forward, I'm going to grab whatever I might need, a couple blocks, I might grab my bolster, so that when I round forward, let's see how good it's going to go. I definitely want to release the neck here. And creating a rounded, it's like the one time where you just get to shrug over. And if you're propping up your head, what I don't want to see is that the neck, I know my hair is like looking like extra, today, but the neck shouldn't be an extension. You want your chin to be towards your chest. That's really crucial for the de-escalation of the nervous system here and the medicinal aspect of this pose. So the deeper I go, I end up getting a little bit of strain in my knees. So I just add a little props underneath there to create a little bit of support. Feel into those hip creases, the front side of the body. See if those can release a little bit. Sometimes too, that knee strain can be taken out by taking the feet a little bit wider if you're experiencing that. And for me, the connective tissue on my back is really sensitive. And so releasing my neck like this is pretty intense in sensation.
But either way, as we hold this for a few more minutes, full minutes, not moments, right, you might find that it does release after a moment, that initially kind of sort of the first sensations, they subside. And like all things, they start to shift and change. And then you might have a little bit more depth in you. Maybe you go a little lower. Maybe you just enjoy the softening. Be real mindful of how the neck ends up. So if your body wants to go lower and that's pushing your chin away from your chest, you want to remove the props underneath your head so that you can release the head a little bit lower. So too, moving the prop farther out can help that without totally taking it away. Again, breathe in nice and deep and feel the expansion of the ribs. And feeling that in through the line of the kidneys and the adrenals. If you haven't yet listened to the Jonathan Goldman album Cosmic Hum, that in and of itself is like a bedtime lullaby. Just put that bad boy on while you're laying in bed. And just kind of allow that soothing rhythm to help relax the body. Big full breath in, long exhale out. And very slowly, you're going to start to bring yourself out. Really take your time as if you could move one vertebrae at a time. Slowly climb on out. Let the head be the very last thing that lifts up. Keeping the eyes closed, just sort of notice what happens in the body here. Just even that short period of time, noticing what happened. Okay, there's one more in our sequence before your Savasana practice, that is your bedtime, is we're going to take a downward facing Savasana. So the pressure on the belly here can help to relax the nervous system. So for some of you, you might maybe have a yoga bolster, and if you do, great. If you don't, creating enough height so that you can release the head and neck fully. Like here's the theme, letting the chin come to the chest, just letting that nervous system de-escalate. So I'm using a bolster and a couple blocks to see if this is good. I think it will be for my body. And then you can always, I like to sometimes have something underneath my arms if they don't quite reach the earth when I head there. If you don't have all this exact equipment, don't fret. This is still available to you. Just stack a bunch of pillows on top of each other and a couple of towels for underneath your arm, and you're good to go. So you want your pelvis fully on the bolster. So you're not hanging off and you're not stretching your inner thighs, and your sternum on the bolster. And then the head drapes off so that there's a release of the neck here. And for different people, where they want to end up being, how far forward or how far back they want to be, kind of depends on the proportions of their neck and their spine, etc. So it's okay to kind of adjust and check it out for yourself. If you have breast tissue, you might gotta move it out of the way. That feels about right. it shouldn't feel painful. It can have some sensation in the releasing of the neck. And if it feels too intense, take these blankets so that the neck or the head lands somewhere. I'm going to kind of manipulate my blanket so my top of my head lands. That's nice. So it's not my forehead that's touching the blanket, but the very top of my head, just giving me subtle support. You don't want the top of your head to be pushing into the neck. So you're decompressing the vertebrae on the back side of the neck, not trying to push it in. And as I notice, as I've been here, it's already releasing a little bit more. Yeah, just as take a nice big full breath, you might notice it softens even more. If your head ends up touching the ground and you're not quite getting that release, back yourself off. If you have a really tall body, you might have to put some extra length onto your setup here to kind of support your body length. And see if you can take the breath down into the belly. Notice the sides of the shoulder blades and top of the shoulders, and see if they can soften. Just another moment or two here. And the next breath, just as we came out of the other shape, you want to just go really slowly, inch yourself off, push yourself back towards like a child's pose, and then let the head turn to the side. Either way is fine. Full breath in, full breath out. When you're ready, you'll sit on up and you'll come over to a wall space, and we're going to take a legs up the wall. So sometimes it can be really supportive to have something underneath your seat. For some people, that makes this way more challenging. And so I'm going to let you determine your own fate in that. So if you have something, you want to place a little height, something that can just help kind of the curvature of the spine. It brings a little bit more weight in through the heart space. And then we're going to have a blanket here to place potentially underneath our head. If you're not using this, you're definitely going to have a blanket because we want to have, again, that chin flexion. If you're using something to be underneath your seat, here's a little trick to get into it. Sit next to it. Stay seated onto the bolster. Lay down onto your side. Then roll over. And you might end up maybe on top of it. You can push your feet into the wall to adjust and then send the feet up. So when you use this support underneath the chin, the support underneath the seat, the chin automatically comes in towards the chest. So sometimes you don't need anything, but I just like a little bit of cushion underneath my head. So I'm going to attempt to go ahead and put this underneath me. We'll see. There it goes. Seems like it kind of worked. Getting tangled up a little bit. If you do not have something underneath your seat, you're gonna definitely want to put something underneath your head. I actually want a little more. Yeah, so that the chin is towards the chest. The leg and the butt don't need to be on the wall, right? Because we're not looking for like a stretch here. We're just kind of creating this energy to move here out of the legs, resting in the heart. Again, that chin towards the chest. If you got a cozy blanket, you can cozy up here. And so even as we're beginning here, I'm going to give you the little advice that at the end, when I kind of come out of it, I'm going to make that exit a little bit quick. And I'm going to remind you that you are welcome to stay in this shape for longer. If you're still feeling kind of wound up from the day and you need a little bit longer, you can hold legs up the wall for 10, 15, 20 minutes until you feel like you're ready to lay down and rest in your bed. And also change your leg positions at any time. So, right, feeling free to adjust, right? If you feel like having the legs at the wall straight isn't working for you. Otherwise, there's nothing to do here except simply allow your body to settle. And just notice that I was holding my legs really strongly, so I'm just letting them be relaxed, which they love to turn out in the relaxed position. And just notice your own legs and feet, hips here in that lower body, holding on in any way. The legs want to be in any way in a different position, and just allowing that to unfold for you. Let the weight hit the floor underneath the seat here on the back side of the pelvis. Noticing on your shoulders, let them soften. Check in with the hands. Are you holding onto any tension there? Can they be soft and open? Expansive with the heart. Relax the jaw. Soften the eyes and the space between the eyebrows. Let the forehead be real soft. Imagine that the cheeks could move away from the nose. That the back side of the neck could grow longer. And the eyes themselves settled into the backs of their sockets. And we're resting here. I almost had a sneeze, but it didn't come out. And taking a deep breath, softening. Now I'm going to invite you to really listen in on your body. Feel its energy, feel its needs. And if you feel ready, you can start to make your way out. But if you don't, you long to stay longer, stay here. Just let the video end and stay resting as long as you need. Giving yourself that gift, restoration. This pose practice for 20 minutes really calms the nervous system. So it's been a little bit of a rough week or day or month. Just giving yourself that permission to rest. Let go of anything to do and stay here for as long as you desire. Sending you all sweet love.